Is this the best Mets team since 2015?
I think it's better than the 2015 Mets. I truly do.
When you run down each lineup, when you compare 2015, 2022, and 2024, it's really hard to not give this team the edge.
The 2015 Mets were a little bit offensively challenged. They made a move midseason that turned out to be like a once-in-a-generation trade deadline acquisition.
Yeah.
That team took off in August. This Mets team, going back over the last 101 games, are 65 and 36. I can promise you this. Teams around the league right now, no one wants to face the Mets.
Hey, I'm Vito Calisi. You can follow me on Twitter at Vito F. Calisi. That's Jonathan Barron at JMB9191. We've been saying it all season. This team is special. This place, Citi Field, has it has the ceiling to be the most electric place on earth. And for the past 4 days, we saw this ballpark operating at optimum levels in every single way. And we're going to talk a lot about that a lot in this episode, but I just wanted to start off and saying, like, thank you to the fans for coming out and getting as loud as you did these last few days, because it's been an incredible series. Like,
it's been an incredible 80 games here in Queens.
But I just want to focus on the series for a second, dude. Like,
I want to focus on all of it, because the Mets fans had a connection with this team this year. Now that the home regular season schedule is over, that no one foresaw coming. And yes, to cap it the way that we did here in this Phillies series, Mets taking 3 or 4 from Philadelphia, a team that came in with the best record in Major League Baseball. The Mets proving that they can go toe-to-toe with any team. And we said that after the last Phillies series, that the Mets let a couple games get away, but they were right there, and they probably should have won at least 2 of 3, if not all of them. This season, and we put up a lot of the moments during the game, all of the memories that we had, it all culminating with Edwin Diaz striking out Cody Clemens, and this place going ballistic from start to finish, especially on Sunday night, Vito.
Sunday night.
It was, you said this to me, I think yesterday, that this series and these games were the biggest September games.
The biggest late September. The biggest late September
I think just
games.
September in general. In 2015, it was over. The division was over. The Mets won that in August.
Yeah.
2022, you know, the Mets played big games, but they were...
I like that you said, I told you that, and you said it before me on the podcast.
Well, I was quoting you. I was giving you credit for something. Don't get used to it. But, you know, like the Cubs series in 2022, it didn't have the same feel. It was a midweek.
Everything was over at that point. This stadium has not seen late September baseball where the games mean everything, and you have a rabid fan base who just wants to get into the playoffs. It's magical. It's special. Like, that thirst to get in is so much different from that, like, excitement that you're already in. There's a huge difference there. And tonight, you heard me say it in the control room after the game to you. You heard Jenna agree with me. And I can tell you, anybody who was on the field pre-game today will tell you, something felt different today. Like, there was an energy in this ballpark where everything felt like I had no doubt the Mets were going to win from the moment I stepped onto the field today.
Second straight day, the Mets went down 1-0, bounced back. So let's get into it. On Sunday especially, I mean, Tyler McGill giving the Mets 4 really solid innings. And then Carlos Mendoza, once again, he did this in the Red Sox finale. He does it on Sunday. He gets 5 scoreless innings out of his bullpen. He goes out there. He talks to Edwin Diaz, lets him catch his breath. After Edwin records a 4-out save
we're going to get to that.
I know.
We're going to get to that.
I know.
But I do want to give credit to Tyler McGill for something, because, like, you got to think about how, like, the implications of this game for Tyler McGill. Tyler McGill is going up against the Phillies lineup that wants to party tonight. They want to clinch the division. They want to go back into that dugout and celebrate. And Tyler McGill is able to go toe-to-toe with Zach Wheeler for a few innings and shut them down. That says a whole lot about a guy when you're thinking of, like, long-run playoff implications.
He bent and he didn't break, and we've seen that from a lot of the Mets pitchers. And, yeah, I mean, it was a great outing from Tyler, but, yeah,
it's a great series. Let's just jump into it, because there's so much to talk about, and we do a top 5 every week, and it's going to really be hard to nail this down, but let's talk about the top 5 moments from Phillies Mets. Number 5, Sean Manaea's start in Game 3. We've said it. Everybody said it. Mendy said it. Sean Manaea has stepped into the ace role, and he went up against this Phillies team. He gave up 3 hits.
He gave up 3 hits. 7 of his last 11 starts now, 7 or more innings pitched. We chatted with Sean before he made the start against the Phillies. Sean Manaea has been a godsend for this Mets organization. The Mets front office did an incredible job targeting him. You know, Sean talked about it, and you guys will hear that, the adjustments he's made during the season and evolving as a pitcher. We also had a chance to chat with Jeremy Hefner. You guys will hear that conversation this week. Hef gave such incredible insight on all the starting pitchers. They're all so different, but there's one common denominator. They've all been so successful, and they're all in many ways having career seasons. Sean is one of those. He goes out there once again, even after allowing the leadoff home run to Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
He settles in. The Mets pick him up with a couple solo home runs. He gets the job done against the Phillies team, who we saw back in June. He struggled a little bit in London in that start, but Sean has been absolute money. I know many are calling him their tribal chief. That's a big thing. Sean Manaea, ace stuff. I would say this.
I said tribal chief. I said tribal chief a month ago, and you told me I couldn't say it.
I didn't know what it meant, but you could say it. Sean Manaea. This is very WFAN, but I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
Sean Manaea has been the best pitcher in New York this season. In terms of the 2024 campaign,
his
the resume.
voice even sounds like Joe B right now as he says it.
Bro, listen. But
no, but I don't disagree with you.
He has been the best pitcher in New York.
Wait, who's calling him the tribal chief?
Many people are saying.
I thought you said Mendy, and I was like, what?
No, many people are saying.
I was like, Mendy's calling him the tribal chief? That's crazy.
I don't think that's what he knows.
Mendy's not calling him the tribal chief.
I don't think he's calling him the tribal chief.
Do you want to hear something funny?
What?
I told Sean in the hallway about the tribal chief thing.
What? I'm sure he knew it. He seems like a
no. He said he didn't.
That's a wrestling thing, right?
He said he doesn't watch wrestling too much anymore, but he did. I did see him pick up a rock shirt.
This
he did
is
buy a
the
rock
thing,
shirt.
right? Tribal chief.
You got to acknowledge your tribal chief. Put up your ones.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this guy mowing in the playoffs. He's so cool.
Dude, the second home run he gave up wasn't even a bad pitch.
No, I mean, something obviously bad happened somewhere in the world.
You saw him even look at, you saw when he went, what?
Yeah. Something bad happened somewhere on Saturday. We know that. That's when Nick Castellanos gets that juice to hit those home runs. But
I saw the scoreboard. No, good job.
Well, it backfired. It was also right after.
It was up in the day before too, though, wasn't it?
No. It was also Castellanos homered right after that security guard, who I don't know where they found that guy, but he broke it down right in front of the Mets dugout. That was pretty wild, also.
All right, let's move on. Sean Manaea, number 5, amazing moment. Number 4. Game 1, Mark Vientos, Pete Alonso go back-to-back. I was sitting in the stands as a fan with my wife that night. Hearing this place go absolutely ballistic for those 2 home runs, it felt a shade like that Braves series earlier in the season where the offense just went off. And like the way that reminded me of it, it reminded me of 2015, that 3 home run inning against the Nationals.
Yeah, the Mets made Taijuan Walker pay. The Phillies put him back in the rotation after he had the really good relief outing 2 Saturdays ago in Philadelphia. First inning, set the tone. Mark Vientos, kind of like the Mark McGwire 62 home run, if you know what I mean. McGwire hit a low line. It was a low line drive. Hunter, you don't remember. What were you, 1?
I wasn't born. But
yeah, I'm not even born. But it was kind of like that. It just hit the black out there in left field. And then Pete going the other way off the shelter in the bullpen. A really impressive shot, set the tone. Then Alvy and Brandon Nimmo. The Mets had 4 home runs before the end of the 4th inning. The Mets have been homering teams to death all season long. That is what makes this team a lot different than a lot of good recent Mets teams we've seen. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But for them to jump all over Taijuan Walker like that, get the place going, keep the offense going, because that game was the 3rd straight game that the Mets scored 10 or more runs. That was the first time they'd ever done that in franchise history. We also had the Jets pooping all over the Patriots. So it was a special night to be a New York Mets and a New York Jets fan. And yeah, I mean, those 2 guys getting it kicked off like that, unbelievable. And then Sevy also took care of business. Another quality start for the man.
Which kind of sucked about the Jets game being on Thursday night, because this would have been finally like a Jets game I could have watched in the middle of the afternoon today.
It's week 3 of the NFL season. The Jets have not played on 2 of those Sundays.
I know, but I'm saying like this would have been.
Yeah, because we had a night game.
Yeah, every other game they played. We have not had a Jets game that wasn't at the same time as a Mets game yet.
That's right. Week 1 was the Mets were in Toronto. Week 2, the Mets were here. Or no, the Mets were. Were the Jets?
It was week 1 was.
Yeah, the Mets were in Philly.
Yeah,
that's right. So that was the screen day.
That's what I'm saying.
Lots
so
of screens.
Like every single, it would have been nice to finally have one in the middle of the afternoon when the Mets are on Sunday Night Baseball. But
it's all right.
Let's move on. Number 3 moment: Mets Phillies. Francisco Alvarez, Game 3, ties the game with a home run. Shows that this team doesn't say die. This team never quits. They always push themselves right back into it. And Francisco Alvarez, a guy that we talked to Mendy about this. This is on the previous episode. We talked to him about. They've seen something in him that he's right there, and it looks like Francisco Alvarez is just ready to be that dude.
He's a difference maker in this lineup. He was moved up a little bit in the lineup today. Ranger Suarez picked a bad time to hang a slider. Alvarez was all over it. In his last 10 games, 5 homers, 13 RBI. We've talked about him getting hit by that pitch on the elbow against Paul Skeens. Before that, he was OPSing over 1,000. He was on pace what it looked like to have, one of the best offensive seasons by a catcher especially if you take away the time that he missed due to the injury. So not when it comes to counting stats, but all of the rate statistics. He struggled for a while. He didn't bring those struggles behind the dish with him, which Mendy also talked about. It's so true. But he is too good of a hitter. I mean, the guy hit, 25 home runs last year as a 21-year-old catcher. Now he's 22, and he is full back. I want to shout out to my brother-in-law, Philip Silverstein. He's not going to listen to this because he's a Yankee fan, but probably in August, he starts telling me, oh, Austin Wells is the best catcher in New York. Thank you, Philip, for once again putting your awful takes out into the universe, because Francisco Alvarez is a top 3 catcher in this league. He has put the Mets on his back with huge hits time in and time again since September 11th, that 3-run home run he hit in Toronto. Shout out Alvy for continuing to just crush it.
I agree with everything you said, but I never want you to use the podcast to finish dinner table arguments ever again.
Not the first time, not the last time.
I never want this podcast to turn into John gets the last say in an in-law dinner conversation.
Why?
All right.
Why?
Let's move on.
His friends listen. Maybe one of his friends will tell him. Tell him.
Number 2 moment, Brandon Nimmo go-ahead home run in Game 4. And there's so many reasons why this moment ranks number 2 for me. 1, Brandon set the tone for this series.
This was Brandon's party. And then he was the interview after all the wins, and he continued to just talk to the crowd.
Yeah. And he's been pumping everybody up every single night. It all started with that one against the Nationals where he's like, we got to see you guys out here. We need to fill this place up. And then if you say it, they will come. And everybody showed up to this ballpark. And then every night getting a new update from him.
He got to thank him each and every time.
And then him being the guy to step up tonight and put the team ahead against the Phillies and stop the Phillies from celebrating.
Not just the Phillies, but also Zach Wheeler, who, we got to tip our cap. Zach Wheeler was nasty tonight.
Yeah.
He was in control the entire game. That was a classic pitcher's duel. I said to you, this game really flew by. 2-1 game, very tight. Winning at the margins. The Phillies go ahead in the first inning by playing some small ball. The ball wasn't really carrying tonight.
No.
Jesse Winker hit that ball in the first inning. He thought it was gone. Schwarber hit the ball to the 408 sign. Didn't get out.
That was hold on to your butts. And I was sitting in so it was family day. I was sitting in the outfield in 135 or whatever. So I couldn't really. You lose the ball out there, and I just was like, oh my God, what's happening? And then I look up to the TV to see it. I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank God that's in Tyrone Taylor's glove.
Brandon, especially against the Phillies, his last 8 games against Philadelphia, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. He had the big homer against Aaron Nola. He had the big homer on Thursday night to give the Mets a little bit of breathing room as the Phillies offense got them back into that game. And he has the big go-ahead homer in this one. That's now 22 home runs and 87 RBI for Brandon Nimmo, 2 shy of his career high that he set last year. So after the Mets committed to Brandon Nimmo, they gave him an 8-year contract extension to make him a Met for life. He has really come through, especially with the power. He has been earning all of the money that the Mets gave him. He has been worth every dollar there. And he hits a huge home run to give the Mets what was the difference-making run here in this ball game. So a huge moment, and it just got, and the entire stadium held its collective breath as Nick Castellanos tried to jump, and it hit that white sheltering over the Cadillac
of JD's
Club.
home run, almost home run in Philly last week.
It really was. I mean, look, that's baseball, man. An inch here, an inch there. That one, or how about Nimmo hooking him foul in 3 straight home games?
Yeah.
Going back to the Red Series, and then he hooked one foul against the Nationals on Monday. And it finally, he gets the bounce in his luck at the perfect time. What a moment for Brandon Nimmo. What a series. We love Brandon Nimmo.
It's just been, I'm even counting this game down. There's so many moments, and let's get to the number 1 moment because there's still stuff to talk about, and there's so much energy. It is 11 o'clock at night right now. We've worked all day.
It's hot in here also.
It is hot in here. I've been here since 9 a.m. I was so pumped up today.
Why were you here that early?
I had to do something with Jay, and I also just I had to do something with Jay at 11.
I slept till 11 a.m. today.
That's good for you. I came in and I just was editing and working because I was just amped up. I wanted to be at the ballpark. I just felt like today was a special day. And it was. So let's talk about the number 1 moment. The number 1 moment for Mets Phillies. I don't think you have to guess. If you were here, you know what it's going to be. The number 1 moment, Edwin Diaz's 6-out save to close the game. This place, the tension was on high, and every strike, the crowd got louder and louder, and that final strike versus Cody Clemens, and I turned to Hunter, and I said, right before Cody Clemens came up, I said, man, imagine how poetic it would be to end this game with a strikeout against Rogers' kid.
That was a crazy moment. You know, people didn't realize that Brandon Marsh had taken second base, so the go-ahead run was in scoring position, and a single hit was going to give the Phillies the lead with Carlos Estevez warming up in the bullpen. I mean, you can imagine what sort of life-sucking that would have been. But Edwin, he buckled down, and he got the job done. It's only his second career 6-out save. Number one, I love Mendy being aggressive with his guy, not holding back. Mendy managed that game like it was a game that he knew he needed. The Braves won today. You knew how the scoreboard shook out. You had the off day on Monday. Edwin has been a workhorse. He told us he's pitched 4 straight days before. Yeah. He brought him in for a 4-out save yesterday. He got Bryce again. Edwin told us he loves striking out Bryce Harper.
Go listen to our Edwin interview. It came out Sunday during the day. It's a must listen. And I'm not going to lie to you. The second Bryce came up in that situation, I was like, ooh, I don't want to see this thumbnail on unfortunate things.
Yeah, images that preceded unfortunate events baseball. No, I know, but he struck him out twice since he told us that. Painted Schwarber yesterday, got him again today. I mean, just brilliant stuff from Edwin Diaz, who, like we mentioned with Edwin, every time he hits a stumbling block, it's almost like fuel that fuels his fire, and he just becomes a lights out reliever.
Did he hit 101 today? He did, right?
He did hit 101 today. It was, look, whenever he comes in the game, this place is always electric. It was extra special today.
Dude, the pitching change today. We finally got our peak regular season pitching change with a packed house, with everybody ready, with the fans rabid, foaming at the mouth. I can't wait to see that here in a few weeks.
And it might even be enhanced a little bit more. We'll see what surprises we have in store for you guys if and when we are here for some October baseball. But
there's more moments, dude. I mean, let's talk about the 9th inning, because look, those are the top 5 moments in our opinion, just the most pivotal, the most exciting. There's a lot of factors that go into our voting that we have a tribunal of me, Hunter, and John before we do this.
Something like that.
But there's some more moments we got to talk about.
There's one in particular that I think needs a nickname. We need a nickname, guys. We need you to drop the comments.
The ball hitting the third base, dude. The ball hitting the bag.
The ball in the bag.
The ball in the bag, dude. You can ask Hunter, because in person,
it looked like he was bouncing into left field.
It looked like it flew. It flew down the line. I literally screamed, "No!" and grabbed Hunter's shoulder.
That did happen. Yeah. I thought from our angle in the booth, I thought it kicked down the left field line. I put my hands on my head. My heart sunk.
How many other years?
I have Vito.
How many other years? How many other years does that fly down the line?
Every year but 2015.
This is what I said right after.
I mean,
I got tonight. We've got, everyone knows someone who has departed us that loved this Mets team at one point or another. There were some people watching over this stadium tonight and this ball club tonight that did not let that baseball take a ricochet into left field and kept it right where it was and kept Trey Turner. It was Stott, excuse me, Bryson Stott at third base. Tonight, God was a Met fan. Something was working in our favor for that ball to stay where it did and to keep the score what it was. I don't think enough people have talked about. I haven't seen a lot of chatter about that play. Man, sometimes it's just meant to be. I know the ball on the wall in 73 was another example of that. I talked about this with Howie. I saw him walking out. That was, we're going to look back, I think, maybe one day at all the different things that happened on the way to the playoffs, hopefully. That moment right there, man. That moment was.
I think people aren't talking about it yet because it was so jarring. It's so unfamiliar. And like this game, how many moments were there in this game where it felt like Angels in the Outfield, where the ball would just land in the perfect spot and we would somehow get away with robbery?
The first hit of the game, or one of the first hits of the game, the ball dropped in front of Rojas and between Stott and center field.
The Phillies had some adventures in the outfield this series.
I do want to say,
Yohan Rojas had himself a time in this series.
Twitter is picking up on the third base. I'm going through all the replies and the mentions now. Someone put up just a picture of third base and just goes, "Wait, I'm goated." In the Mets community.
Hey, I wonder if we didn't have the bigger bases.
No, that's.
Did it hit right in the middle, or was it?
No, it was
right in the middle.
It was the front. It was the
yeah.
Okay.
But if that's a half inch up and that skips off the top of the base,
it's all about the angle the ball hits the base.
I mean, you can't make that up.
No,
right?
It was. I mean, like this season is so special. This team is so special. There's so many moments. Like we've been talking about how weird this season has been, and how every other year there's games that this team loses. The Blue Jays the no-hitter going into the 8th and Francisco Lindor goes up and hits a bomb. Like, these moments this year, this team is just so different.
Talk about a game of inches. Nimmo's ball just getting over the wall and that ball staying on the infield right there. Mets take 3 or 4 from the Phillies.
I mean, dude, there's so much from this series. Like, what about, like, Luis Angel Acuna just stepping up everybody we've spoken to. We've had a chance this week to talk to about 4 or 5 guys from the team. And every single one of them has said, I can't believe what Luis Angel has been able to do.
For me, it's the defense. I mean, he's looked incredible over there at shortstop.
That play today, the just completely just in motion, just throwing straight, just throwing a straight bullet to first.
Yeah, he's picked up the slack that Francisco Lindor has left. And I mean, the Mets, how about just in general? You lose your MVP and everyone's like, oh man, how are we going to do this?
And that's another thing. How many other seasons is that it for us?
Of course. I mean, in 2016, a lot of the Mets starting staff went down and like they didn't have answers. And it just felt like they were kind of at the end of the line. You lose Lindor for whatever time being it's going to be. And you inserted Acuna. And I truly believe that the Mets were calling Acuna up regardless of Lindor's status. I think that was a move that he's a guy that could play a lot of positions. Losing Jeff McNeil made having a guy like Acuna on the roster that much more important because he could play infield and outfield. You can move him around. He brings some speed off the bench. Obviously, he's got some pop. It's been incredible. I mean, how about the job the Mets did? We mentioned Harper and Edwin Diaz. The Mets held in this series. Bryce Harper, 2 for 16, 7 strikeouts.
Well, what did our buddy Todd tell us a few weeks ago? And it's been on my mind this whole series.
What did he tell us?
Bryce Harper has only hit 3 home runs
at Citi Field as a Philly.
in Citi Field as a Philly.
He's also a Cowboys fan.
That is crazy. Did you know that, Hunter?
No, I didn't. But I don't think it was when he was at the Phillies. But the one homer that sticks out to me that he's hit here, I mean, was the broken bat off of DeGrom in 18.
Is this a freaking
but,
what kind of what are we doing? What are we doing here, dude? We're gonna
have a Hall of Fame. No, I'm kidding.
No, dude, look, Bryce is, I've said before, Bryce Harper, like, when it comes to non-Mets, like, Bryce Harper is one of my favorite players to watch, but you know what I like to watch him do more than anything? Strike out against my favorite team.
Striking out. I mean, how about the bullpen? Last 2 games, Saturday, Sunday, 7 scoreless combined innings, 2 on Saturday, 5 on Sunday. Phil Maton coming in early. Jose Buto getting the job done as well.
Yeah.
It was another clinic managerial by Mendy.
Game 2, not a great night for the Mets, but Brazoban looked really good.
Brazoban did look really good. He gave the Mets a couple innings. He was able to help save some of the other guys for Saturday and Sunday. So I just want to once again say what a job by Carlos Mendoza, who should be the National League Manager of the Year. I don't care that the Brewers were the first team to clinch.
Reed Garrett came up in some really tough spots.
Reed Garrett on Saturday came in and did a good job. So
and Thursday.
Just all around. I mean, I don't even know, man. Like I'm nervous about the Atlanta series, just based on precedent. I know that what happened.
This season is about exercising demons.
It is like you said this. The game like tonight. That's the kind of game that past teams in our woe is me Mets era somehow let slip away.
And you know what? This is a perfect time to talk about this. You saw the title, you saw the thumbnail. You want to know? Here it is. Is this the best Mets team since 2015?
I think it's better than the 2015 Mets. I truly do.
I would love to sit here and have an SNY or WFN or anything host versus host argument, but when you run down each lineup, when you compare 2015, 2022, and 2024, it's really hard to not give this team the edge.
The 2015 Mets were a little bit offensively challenged. They made a move midseason that turned out to be like a once-in-a-generation trade deadline acquisition. Yeah. That team took off in August. This Mets team, going back over the last 101 games, are 65 and 36. I can promise you this. Teams around the league right now, no one wants to face the Mets. Nobody wants the Mets. There are teams that are in first place that are going to win divisions, and we've seen in the new playoff format, wild card teams trip up division winners.
NL East wild card teams.
NL East wild card teams.
NL East wild card teams are wild.
There are teams that are watching the up and down of the everyday movement of what's going on in this National League wild card race. No one wants this Mets team. They throw the ball well. They pitch well, both starting, pitching, relief. They field the ball well. We've talked about that all week with all the pitchers we talked to. Jose Quintana, Jeremy Hefner, the pitching coach. Sean Manaea, the outfield defense. Early on in the season, the Mets struggled defensively, and there were some spots on this roster that were not contributing whatsoever. David Stearns and company were quick to fix those spots, plug those spots. The Mets improved defensively. This offense is one of the better offenses in the National League, has been since June. They homer nonstop. They come up with clutch hits. They run the bases well. They do everything well. No one wants this very, very, very talented Mets team, Vito.
It's so much more balanced than both of those teams, too, when you look at it. When you go player for player and you just think about, like, where this lineup just lines up versus these other teams. I mean, like, one thing off the bat, let's talk about second base, okay? Now, I know you're probably immediately thinking 2015, we had Dan and Murphy.
Yeah, but in the regular season, he wasn't.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, I want to say, I think that Jose Iglesias is such a plus defender that, like, look, a 7 home run streak it's hard to debate that.
Sure, but that was kind of a freak thing that is not going to happen.
And I think our whole point here is that there's much more balance to this team, and there's much more probability in like what these guys are doing, because it's not all home runs. It's not boom or bust.
No,
they're hitting home runs and they're getting base hits and they're stealing bases and they're doing everything right. And then on the other side of the bag, they're doing the same damn thing.
The Mets can beat you in many, many ways. They can beat you in many, many ways, whether it's out-homering you or coming up with clutch hits or doing the little things, winning at the margins like you mentioned. But also, 1 through 9 of the lineup can beat you on any given night. You know, people, I don't want anyone to forget, and I'm sticking to this. Pete Alonso is about to have some big moments here between me saying this and whenever the final pitch is thrown in this Mets season. Pete Alonso was in this lineup. Brandon Nimmo has the big hit.
And look, you love Lucas Duda. I love Lucas Duda. But let's compare this to the 2015 team. Who would you rather have up who would you rather have on your team?
Of course. I mean, Pete Alonso.
You would rather have the homer.
Pete Alonso has the 3rd most home runs in Mets history. Tyrone Taylor's come up with huge hits. Harrison Bader's had huge hits. Mark Vientos has had huge hits. Francisco Alvarez has had huge hits for the Mets.
Let's talk about the catching position. You want to compare 2015, 2022, and 2024? James McCann versus Francisco Alvarez and Luis Torrens?
Travis d'Arnaud in 2015. Look, this team, I think we said it. It's deep. It's got a lot of different ways to beat you.
I don't know why I'm yelling so much.
It has the biggest X factor in the back end of the bullpen. That's Edwin Diaz. Phil Maton is a relief. I love Phil Maton. The Mets utilize him perfectly. Jose Buto is a weapon out of the bullpen.
Ryan Stanek has been great.
He has been great. That's why, look, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I've been hurt. We've all been hurt so many times.
This is exercise those demons. Don't get hurt.
Dude, you know what? The Mets math. Yeah. Guess what? They're at 87 MF in wins. They did it. They got to 87 with 6 games to spare. They're already there.
Do you remember our season preview episode? Do you remember?
I remember some things about it. I remember we were in the club up there. I remember I was wearing the Blues Clues shirt. I remember who was sitting with us or not sitting with us while we recorded it.
I've thought about this before, like how long this season is. Doesn't it feel crazy that we used to record in the control room? We used to record in the Empire Club, and then we found this in the middle of this. We found this in May.
This whole situation is very reminiscent of what the Mets have done.
Yeah,
kind of spinning your wheels, trying to find your way for a little bit earlier in the year, and then all of a sudden something clicks and bang, you're off, you're running. We're basically 29 games over 500.
Do you remember the season preview episode? What I said, and everybody called me crazy.
That reminds you of 2015. That it felt like it.
I said something about this team reminds me of 2015. Just the aspect of it's kind of rebuilding, but it's not. They're almost there. There's this young talent coming up. They seem like a team that could surprise you. And I remember in May, I was getting texts from people, maybe even people who work here, being like, remember when you said this team reminded you of 2015 in May? And I said, they still do. I said, anything can happen. And you know what I kept doing? Every time anybody would say something to me, I would look at the 2015 record. And I would be like, where do we stack up to the 2015?
They had that long winning streak earlier in the year. And then outside of that, they really didn't have that much success. And they didn't take off till later in the season. It's a long season. We all know that. This Met team turned it on a lot earlier than that Met team. I think a lot of people in June, really after the Grimace game. I mean, the Mets, what do I have here? June 12th was when Grimace came and threw out the first pitch. Their last 45 home games, the Mets, 33-12. That is dominant. That is 4 out of every 5 games you're winning at home. That's incredible.
That's crazy.
I said I think that's just a testament to the fans coming out and just being electric every night we're here.
It's the pitching staff. It's playing to the strengths of this ballpark and what helps you win here. It's been.
I also think
this is crazy. This is crazy. They just took 3 or 4 from the Phillies, who are vying for the top spot in the National League. They can play with anyone. We are sitting on a team right now that literally can, you know what? They can. They really can.
Anything could happen. I mean, we've seen weirder team. Like, you know what? I remember a team in 2019 where a certain player and a certain song ignited the season and led them deep into the postseason. Like, there's so many things. There's so many weird.
And that was Gerardo Parra. Gerardo Parra, in a way, is kind of Jose. I think Jose Iglesias is better.
No, but that was my point.
Like a guy who was not not the focal point. He's not the main character necessarily.
Like, it's just, this season is so crazy. Like, this easily is a top 5 Mets game. This is a top 5 Citi Field game for me.
Tonight was special. Tonight was awesome. Tonight was a playoff game. And for Sunday Night Baseball, I was curious because Sunday Night Baseball, it's a school night. Yeah. School's back in session. I was like, is it going to be like 30,000? Like, maybe some people just don't show up.
What was the gate?
Oh, it was 40 because this was originally not a night game. So people might have bought this game, last regular home game of the season. I'm thinking like people wouldn't show up. And I said this to you yesterday when we were down on the field. By the way, Vito brought me on for smoke for the first time.
And I let you hit it.
And then what happened?
And you messed it up.
I didn't. And I almost cursed.
And Sean Manaea, he distracted Sean Manaea.
Distracted? I didn't do anything. I was existing.
Sean Manaea, John was wearing his Indiana University hat.
Who?
And Sean Manaea,
we're coming for you, Terps.
Sean Manaea walked into the dugout and just started booing John.
And I was confused. I'm like, this guy's about to go, face 1, 2, 3 in the lineup, and he's worrying about my Hoosiers hat.
And then a few seconds later, John tries to hit the smoke, and I tell him that he has to lift his hand up, and only one of the things goes off. And then Christian Scott looks over and gives him a head shake. Like, what are you doing, dude? You messed up our smoke.
Well, it was.
Did you notice today that also happened?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who hit the button?
Me.
Oh, wow.
You broke it.
I didn't break anything.
You obviously broke it.
Operator error.
You definitely broke it.
I didn't, Hunter.
That was some Hall of Fame smoke when it works on all levels,
Man, how am I going to sleep tonight?
I don't know, dude. I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm so amped up right now. Like, I love this Mets team, and I'm so sad that they go away for the next week.
I can't believe that the regular season is over here. Like last year, when the season ended, I was going through a tough time personally. I had some stuff going on,
yeah.
And it was that was sad for a different way. I'm sad because this season has been so much fun, and it doesn't feel like it's over.
It's not.
And I think it's I know, but realistically, you don't know what could happen.
How fired up were you when Mendy said that when he was asked, "What do you think about tomorrow being Pete Alonso's last game at Citi Field?" And Carlos Mendoza said, "It's not. We're coming back here."
Dude, there are ballers in that clubhouse. Like this team, they just don't care about anything or the detractors out there, or any of the negativity that people bring to the table. Like this team just goes out there. They're telling you we're going to be back here. They're telling you we're going to be back here. But I mean, we put this up on the scoreboard today. Just thanking the fans and metrics. We're talking. Yeah. John always talks about metrics.
I've never said that.
Yeah, you did.
No, I've never. Said
yes, he has said that.
No, I was just saying you're a stats guy.
Don't both of you look at me like your parents arguing, looking for me to settle this argument.
Anyway, I think there's tape. But, Seymour Wiener on opening day, we put him up on the board. He got a big pop, by the way. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we showed some B-roll of Seymour.
Well, I think people thought he was going to be there. They got really excited.
Not a bad idea for a postseason. Anyway, if we brought Seymour out to do the honorary LGM to start game 3.
Or play ball. Imagine a Seymour Wiener play ball.
No play ball. Let's go Mets. Get this place going.
Hey, let me ask you a
question.
Should
we get a drum?
No,
we should get a car horn and someone beep it.
For rallies, in-game rallies that we usually use for celebrities, can we use just guys on the team? Like, watching Brandon Nimmo today get the crowd riled up at the end of the game, I was like, why can't Brandon Nimmo pop up on the screen and say, let's go Mets?
I feel like a lot of guys don't like to see themselves on the screen during the game. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could.
Because, when I saw him do that, I was like, I feel like if Brandon Nimmo told me to get up out of my seat and scream, let's go Mets during a game, I would do it.
Well, I've had an idea. Why not just give him a microphone during the game? Like, how cool would that be if we just,
That's probably illegal.
What's illegal about it? What's illegal about it?
SNY and ESPN gives them microphones all the time.
Kyle Schwarber during the game today, you saw what they were doing, right?
In the cages.
Yeah. He was breaking down the ball that he hit that almost went out in the batting cage during the game. So, I don't think it's illegal, dude. I think it's just never been done before. But, we try to push boundaries here at Citi Field because baseball hits different here.
Also, dude, I noticed that You know what I appreciated in the video of like the fan moments?
What?
They kept being catching the pitch, and I was like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah, I told him to blur your face. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, it's just been, even this weekend with the Jesus guy on Thursday and everything. It's just Spider-Man tonight. Whoever that guy was, I don't know. It's gonna take us a long time to digest this. I know I said this after the Phillies series last week. This season, no matter what happens, has just been unbelievable. So shout out to every single player that has stepped on that diamond as a member of the Mets, contributing. Shout out to you. This has been so much fun.
This has been fun. Thanks, Hunter.
Thank you, Hunter.
Hunter stepped up. I want to give Hunter stepped up in a big way. Like Hunter's just come with Hunter's been here every week since Ty left.
Yep.
And it's just
shout
really
out Ty, shout out Taylor, shout out Jake and Bobby,
Yeah.
and Mr. Goldberg and Dylan Goldberg and Trisha and Brendan, and just it's been.
Sorry, Hunter. I was trying to give you a nice
It's
thank
okay.
you.
Thank
Well, hold on. We got to name everyone. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes here, and I can assure you guys, when this team comes back for whatever playoff game it is, because really wild card one is not out of the realm of possibility. No. Like it really isn't at this point. Whenever the Mets are back home, we're gonna have a show for you guys. You guys bring the energy. We're gonna bring the energy. Those guys in the clubhouse are gonna bring the energy.
Big thank you to all the guys who came on the podcast this year too, especially Carlos Mendoza. Carlos Mendoza, I don't even know how many times we did him on the podcast this year. Sean Mania just doing it as much as he did.
Tommy
and Donovan getting us everybody. Jake got us a lot of people to start. Like
Ethan Wilson.
Yeah, like
Zach Weber, our friends in PR.
It's just been there's been so much that helped us this year in our first year. Like starting a new podcast is hard, and they made it a lot easier than it could have been, especially when things were tough in May. And Mendy was still coming in here and talking to us. So just big thank you to everybody who like listened and enjoyed it and commented. Anybody who called in and like said some stuff to us. People who stop us in the ballpark and say they like the show.
Met a listener at a bar in Astoria last night because I actually went out to a bar in Astoria last night.
Oh, you did?
Oh, I did.
How many people? Was it the Queen's Crew mainly that went out?
No, shout out to the Queen's Crew also. Thank you very much. No Queen's Crew came out, but I went to Judy and Punch last night.
Oh,
I was there till like 1:30. Corey, I think Corey lives around the block.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah.
But things got a bit fuzzy, so I think it was.
Why he slept till 11.
Yeah, that's why. I think it was James who I met last night. I was enjoying.
John was partying. I was editing the Edwin Diaz.
I was enjoying a little ranch water, and James says, "Are you Jonathan?" And the people that I was with.
Dude, it's been cool. Like, so many people have come up at the ballpark and said they like the podcast. Like a lot of employees, a lot of people who work here have came up to me and said they like the podcast, and like that means a lot because when you work here, it's hard to like listen to more Mets content.
You know what I'm proud of?
What?
I'm proud of the fact that back in May, when things really were rock bottom, number one, David Stearns came on the podcast. Thank you, David Stearns, for many things.
You guys hated us in May when we were saying everything was okay. You guys you did not like Meet at the Apple.
Glass half full podcast, and no one wanted to hear it. And David Stearns came on the show.
Yeah.
And I asked him a question about expected batting averages and some bad luck. And I took some heat from the big guy. He did not like that. He didn't want to hear about that crap. Number one, he thinks I'm a nerd. He's not wrong. But guess what? We were right.
It's been a fun season. We're not done. We got more episodes to do. We're doing a ton of episodes.
We got some watch parties this week also.
We do have watch parties this week.
I will not be on Tuesday, but Wednesday at T Squared in New York City.
Don't say the alumni yet, just to be safe.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But we will be there.
We will be there
That's
Wednesday.
going to be a whale of a time. Might have some ranch waters in me at that night, too.
We're going to have a ton of stuff with us, too. We're going to have, like, OMG foam fingers and stuff. So if you're listening to this, T Squared, Wednesday night.
And what is T Squared? You've been there, I haven't. So
Hunter's been there, too.
Tell people about T Squared, because it sounds sick.
T Squared is a really sick bar that has what they say is the biggest TV in the city. They say they use the same people that we use for our boards.
Okay.
The TV is huge.
But humongous TV.
It's a Samsung board.
Multiple TVs. And they have golf sims all over, which some of the best golf sim tech I've used before. Like I've been to 5 Iron, I've been there, I've been to another golf sim place I don't remember. But like I really like their technology. It's a really fun place to watch a game. Great bar, great beer selection. And we're gonna have a great time because we're bringing the OMG signs, we're bringing some shirts. We might even have some more stuff. So if you want to watch a Mets game, if you want to watch a Braves game with some fans, come meet us Wednesday night, T Squared Social. It's going to be great.
You mentioned the Braves. Real quick, want to talk a little bit about the upcoming series. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't. I know we got to go. Sorry. But I think that it's important. The Mets have reshuffled their rotation. Sevy's going to go Tuesday. David Peterson's going to go Wednesday. Shamanai is going to go Thursday. By doing this, the Mets can throw Sevy in game 162, if they need to. Look, we know that Atlanta has been a house of horrors. Going back to the 90s.
John Franco said it to us today. We actually spoke to John Franco, and like, dude, it fired me up because seeing John Franco get Hunter, John Franco got legitimately mad thinking about the Braves.
A Brian Jordan grand slam he allowed back in September of '99.
That is a Met in his blood,
dude. He literally,
in his heart, and I love.
He
that.
literally was
I
like, he was like, man, I just hope. He was talking to us like a fan. He was like, man, I just hope that they're up 2 games when they leave here and they go to Atlanta.
And it's important because if the Mets take 2 of 3 from Atlanta, they will have a 3-game lead, clinch the tiebreaker. Like Vito said, the Mets will be playoff bound. That is what they have to do this week. And I think on Meet at the Peach or whatever the heck they're calling that podcast down there, they're nervous.
Yeah.
They're nervous.
And you know what? Let's go back. I'm going to end this podcast.
20 more minutes. 20 more minutes.
I'm going to end this podcast on one note to compare us to 2022, 2015. 2022. Be honest, Mets fans. When we went to Atlanta, we barely beat the Marlins. You were nervous. You weren't feeling that good. We're going to Atlanta. We just beat the Phillies. Guess who's barely beating the Marlins now? They are. So who's shaking? Not me. Look at that.
He's steady. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like you've been saying, exercising demons. What happened in 2022? What happened in the 90s? None of that matters.
What happened in 62?
These guys, this team doesn't care. This team doesn't care about any of that. It's a business trip.
This team wins baseball games
in many different ways. They're going to be wearing their suits on the plane, going down to Atlanta. We got the rotation lined up the way we want after a day off. This is what it's all about. Each game bigger and bigger and bigger.
So follow us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Meet at the Apple. You can follow me on Twitter at Vito F. Khaleesi. You can follow John at JMB9191, at Hunter Taubes on Twitter. He's a good dude. A lot of the funny Mets tweets are from Hunter. I don't like giving him credit all the time, but a lot of the really online niche internet culture stuff, it's Hunter. He's really good at it.
Where are your jeans from, Hunter? I like them.
Banana Republic.
Right.
Nice.
That's
Thank
pretty
you,
fancy.
Vito.
All right.
Thank you, Vito.
Guys, let's go Mets. See you at T-Squared on Wednesday, and I'm fired up. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight because I'm going to be editing and just pumped up.
Text me.
Let's go Mets.